Thank you for jumping into episode 2 of The Portal. And on this week's episode, we're going to have a lot of fun recapping that amazing week 1 performances that we got to see. I know if you're a fan of certain teams, you definitely had a lot of fun this weekend. And if you're a fan of some other teams, you may be a little disappointed. There was definitely some letdowns. Nebraska, one of them. Man. It really hurt me there. I had you guys upsetting, and 4 turnovers later, you still lose the game. So, I mean, sometimes that happens in college football. We've all experienced it. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today. We're going to talk about these matchups from week 1. There's so much to talk about. First thing we're going to talk about coming up is we're going to be going over a specific conference. One that I keep telling people this year is probably one of the stronger conferences that people are overlooking besides the SEC. And this is a conference that definitely has a lot of talent. And we're going to explain some things and go over the numbers and let you see why. Now, when it comes to the next segment after that, we're going to go over a couple different conferences and a couple different matchups. There were some big ones. I mean, yes, Florida State LSU, obviously being an FSU fan, we're going to go over that matchup. But we're going to go over a lot of matchups because there was a lot of great games where I felt like some players stepped up and played really well. And there's some unseen heroes in the background of some of these games that I think could be important that we need to watch as the season goes along, see where it ends up leading. Now, in the third segment, we're going to talk about some of the key matchups for this week that you'll be seeing today. Unfortunately, since I have been sick with a cold and also had a death in the family, I have been a little behind trying to get the videos out this week. So today I'm launching the video about game time, so that way you guys will be able to see the video during game day. You'll also have material to watch throughout the day as you wait for your game to come on if you don't want to watch some of the other games that are on at the time. It's just something as a filler. I promise that we're going to get back on track with these videos in the future. Like I said, right now, still fighting the sickness, still fighting the cold. You probably hear it. My voice sounds a little bit off. I may have to stop to cough, and I may have to stop to get some water every once in a while. But that being said, last thing we're going to have to talk about today, it's going to be great. We're going to be talking about receipts. You know, should we cash them? And when we do cash them, how do we cash them? You know, this is something that in social media a lot of us do. And not just in social media, you do it with your friends in real life. I mean, you remember that one statement they've been making all off season, and you can wait to remind them of how wrong they were. And that's the great thing about college football. There's always someone that's wrong. I mean, not me. I'm right most of the time. And when I'm not, it's the team's fault, not mine. So, on to week 2. So, the first thing we're going to talk about in today's show is going to be the Pac-12 Conference. What a start to week 1. And week 1 includes week 0. So, it's a 13-0 start for the Pac-12. That's right, 13-0. No losses in the Pac-12. And that's something a lot of the conferences can't say. I mean, great start to the Pac-12. And it's mostly because of quarterback play. I mean, as a conference, quarterback play in this conference is amazing. Now, some people may say, well, it's lack of defense. But if you watch some of these games, you can't tell me that some of these teams don't have a pretty decent defense. And there is some teams in this conference that are going to have some good defenses that are going to make some of the other teams struggle. As, yes, they might not have the offense that some of these other teams have, but their defense can make a game closer and they have a chance to beat that upset team. But from top to bottom, the Pac-12 has a lot of teams that could put up some points, and that's what they showed us early on. I mean, let's look at the fact that if you took the Pac-12 quarterback numbers, which I did, and you added every single quarterback, even backups who got on the field for the Pac-12 in week 1, they all finished collectively with a 72% passing percentage as all the quarterbacks collectively in the Pac-12. That is incredible. And we're talking about 34 touchdowns to 4 picks amongst all the quarterbacks in that conference. I mean, this is production at its finest. And we know some of the big names in the conference. I mean, if you watched, Cam Rising didn't even play. He was out when Utah beat Florida, in a good win for them, especially considering Utah was missing a lot of defenders in that game as well. And Utah's known more for their defense. So it was great for them to be able to pull that win out against a team in Florida that could be average to below average this year. They have a lot of growing to do themselves. But then you see a team like Washington, what they did to Boise State. Watch Boise State this weekend, and I guarantee you, you won't see the Boise State that played against Washington. And that's no knock that, maybe they weren't ready and they didn't play good against Washington. That is a testament to how good Washington played and how good their offense was. Penix Jr. definitely threw his name right into the mix for Heisman, and possibly, to me, looked more impressive than anything Caleb Williams has done so far this year. Boise State's not a slouch. They're not a knockout defense, but this isn't a defense that allows the points the way Washington put them up. And they made it look easy. I mean, Penix eventually just went out of the game because he was just making it look easy, effortless with every throw. I mean, he was celebrating a touchdown at one point during the game before the pass was even caught because he knew once he let it go, his man had it. I mean, this man has unbelievable confidence, and that team is going to be a team that really competes within the Pac-12. That being said, Oregon, they did play an easy non-conference game, but Bo Nix came out and did what Bo Nix does. Had some good numbers, didn't throw a pick, was good when he was on the field, and they got 3 touchdowns. So Bo Nix did what he needed to do to help Oregon cruise to a victory. And we all know Oregon definitely is another team that's going to be in that mix for the Pac-12 this year. So we've already talked about Utah, Washington, Oregon. These are all teams that are in that mix, and USC and Caleb Williams isn't far behind. That offense can score on just about anybody. But at this point, I'm almost itching. I can't wait to see USC versus Washington. These two offenses, when they play each other, could be one of the most exciting games you watch all year. The question is, though, which defenses are going to step up and make the plays that need to be made for the teams to win that game. But Caleb Williams, no slouch. I mean, what he's done in the first 2 weeks and the first 2 games for USC have been impressive. And he is putting up those numbers again to try to put his name right back in the Heisman race. For me, again, the question with USC is defense. Now, the first weekend, they looked a little shaky. Second weekend, they played a better team, I felt, offensively, especially potentially this year. But, once again, still not a true test, and we don't know how improved this USC defense is. Now, the thing about it is, remember, USC has 6 of their 11 starters on defense are transfer portal guys. It's not like on offense. I mean, we saw this with Colorado, which we'll talk about later, that transfer portal can work on offense. People say the offense is the most difficult, but to me, the defense is. Being able to trust on that other guy to be able to pick up the guy that he needs to pick up in his coverage while you're covering the person you're supposed to be covering. There's a lot of reads, a lot of switching, a lot of communication in today's college football. And it's a lot harder when it's a bunch of guys that haven't played together. And I think USC's defense has the potential to be a good enough defense that they can make some noise and make it to college football playoffs this year. The question is, can that defense learn to gel together and play together in a year's time to be ready for the playoffs? Now, another team that looked good, they were playing an easier out of conference, and that would be Oregon State. DJ looked like he shaked off all the rust from Clemson. And his dad definitely let Dabo know it this week on Twitter, as he was tweeting about it constantly. But DJ looked great, 2 rushing touchdowns. He also had 3 passing touchdowns and had a really good game percentage-wise. It didn't throw an interception. And it's amazing what you can do when you have receivers that aren't dropping passes and they're actually getting open on routes. And Transfer portal. I mean, one of the guys he's throwing to, that was one of his favorite targets, is a transfer portal guy. So, once again, transfer portal being a big significant factor with this team. But here's another guy that was ridiculed a lot at Clemson, but could have a great career this year and a very successful season within the Pac-12. And we all saw the shocker with Colorado. Sanders definitely showed that he can play some Power 5 ball at quarterback and maybe even put his name ahead of some of the others right now in the Pac-12 when it comes to the Heisman, just because of the numbers he put up. And people are going to be like, yes, TCU. We don't really know what TCU is right now, which is true. We don't know if TCU is the ranked team that they were to start preseason because we don't know what they are compared to last year. We will learn that over the next couple of weeks, and we'll continue to learn that over the season. But right now, we have to assume that it's still a good TCU team. And what Colorado did was very impressive, especially as a 20-plus point underdog, to go out there and win that game. And it wasn't just winning the game, but it was the numbers that they put up as a team. 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, he played a great game and just did a really good job of distributing the ball. Offensively, though, I thought it was the speed of their offense, the way they hurried to the line, was really impressive and fun to watch. So this will be something that we definitely want to continue to watch as the season goes on. Obviously, anytime you have prime time involved, it's going to be something that's talked about constantly when it comes to that matchup. But again, another Pac-12 team. And we can go through the list of the other Pac-12 teams. All of them play great. They play really good matchups, and I thought they did well in their matchups that they had. And each one of them were able to pull out some wins. Even Stanford, who I feel like probably is one of the bottom teams in the Pac-12, they might be the worst team in the Pac-12 this year. And some of the others. But they got consistent enough play and good enough play that they were able to win this weekend. And great start for the Pac-12. I'm not going to deny you guys. Definitely going to give you a pat on the back because you deserve it. And for SEC fans and other fans of conferences that don't understand it, go watch some Pac-12 games. Leave your TV on late at night and watch some of these games because I'm telling you, you're missing some great football, especially considering the Pac-12 won't exist next year. It's gone. They're going away. So enjoy this incredible run for the Pac-12 that is pretty much their send-off as a conference. And this is their finale, their swan song. And we get to see an amazing performance from some amazing teams to see what is going to happen. And I can't wait to see how this plays out the rest of the year because, the Pac-12 is not going to go undefeated all year. Obviously, they play each other. At the same time, some of these other matchups definitely don't favor them as well. So this will be something that as we watch throughout the year, let's see what the Pac-12 does. I'm really excited to see what they do come playoff time and bowl season time. Let's see how strong they can finish. Can they finish strong enough to where maybe they have the best record at the end of the bowl games and the playoffs? Could be a possibility. We'll see. But only time can tell. For me, it's going to take some of the defenses in this conference taking a step forward and getting better, though, for us to see any of those teams within the college football playoffs at the end of the year. Now we're going to talk about some of those other matchups from week one. There's some great matchups and some great results. First, let's talk about Nebraska versus Minnesota. Yes, that's right. Nebraska is almost back. Here we are again. Once again, Nebraska able to reach in and grab defeat from the jaws of victory because they had it. They had another great game. The defense played amazing, and offensively, they turned the ball over 4 times, and they kept giving Minnesota opportunities, and Minnesota took it, and they came back and won the game late when pretty much Nebraska had led almost the entire game. So it was one of those situations where, again, Nebraska just cannot seem to get over that hump and win those close games. The one-score games have been the Achilles heel for them. It's what got Frost fired, and now new coach, new system, and here they are again. However, I will say one thing that did look a lot different in this from the Frost years is they looked more competitive, even after the turnovers and the mistakes. And even after that touchdown that tied the game, they looked more competitive and believed more that they could win than I've seen a Nebraska team in a while. I mean, there was some fight there, and there was a difference that I think that give him time. This is his first year, his first game, so his first close loss. So give him time to develop these players that they have because they got some talent. I did a segment on one of these guys back when we were the ACC guys. I did a segment on one of them, and it got like 50,000 views, and people were talking about this kid. And he's a wide receiver that's kind of a sleeper. I don't know how any of the big colleges missed him, but Nebraska was able to see his talent and bring him in. He's got a huge body, big frame. He's fast. I don't see how anybody else, even Florida State included, how teams missed on this guy. This guy is a freak of nature, and I feel like he is going to be a guy that, yes, he may take some time to develop, but you give him some time to develop, he could be a threat. I can see him being a Megatron-type player for Nebraska. So we go from one disappointment to another. Louisville, Georgia Tech was another great game to watch this weekend. Within the ACC, has a lot of implications as to what could happen this ACC season. Now, my ACC prediction, I have Georgia Tech. I had them upsetting Louisville in this game and winning it, and winning just enough games to go to a bowl this year. So this loss hurts Georgia Tech because this is one of those that I predicted they had to get to 6-6 to get to a bowl. So right now they're on the wrong side of trying to get to a bowl with their schedule. The schedule is going to be tough. It's going to be hard to beat some of these teams that are on the schedule. But I will say this: they looked a lot better offensively. The transfer quarterback looked amazing, and he looked nothing. Haynes looked nothing like he did when he was at Texas A&M. It was like a completely different Haynes King. And he played well. He gave Georgia Tech chances. And honestly, when it came down to it, it was just that Louisville defense, which has been nasty last year. And look for them to be another nasty defense this year. And they're going to get after the quarterback. They're going to put pressure on you, and they're going to create turnovers. And that's what they did in this game. And ultimately, it got them the win. And that's the difference. And, Georgia Tech being able to pull that upset off them up. And, other great matchups, Tennessee rolled Virginia. I mean, it's kind of expected. A lot of us picture Tennessee rolling and winning big in that game. And to me, they really did go out there and just take care of business. A lot of people doubt Milton, thinking that he can't run this offense. I mean, he proved in the time that he came in last year, he can run this offense and run it effectively. So there is no doubt in my mind that he can't run this offense. The question is, can that Tennessee defense play with the fire that it played with this weekend? That's the real question. And, another one would be Sam Hartman. Another game. He's already got 2 games in from week 1 because he played in week 0. So here it is. He's got enough touchdown passes now. He's 40 touchdown passes away from breaking the NCAA football record for passing touchdowns in a season. And I'll continue to track that throughout the year. Eventually, I'll probably put a little ticker or tracker at the bottom, so that way we won't even have to talk about it in episodes. You'll just see the little tracker that keeps track of how many touchdowns he has and how much closer he's getting to that record. I'm not saying he's going to hit it, but he could come awfully close. And the question is going to be, what does he do this weekend? I think NC State's defense is not as good as everybody is trying to proclaim. I think that UConn game was a game that kind of exposed it a little bit because that was question marks I had when evaluating this team coming into this year. Is can the NC State defense stay effective and be able to provide the same amount of pressure and be able to contain the run and also be able to get after pass rushers the way they have last couple of years when you're lost your best linebackers? And that's the question mark. And I think the Notre Dame is going to definitely go out there and question you on it because they're going to come at you and run. That's what Notre Dame's going to do. And when they start running the ball, then they're going to play action. And Sam Hartman's going to hit some wide open guys. And some of them might not even be that open. But Sam Hartman's going to get the ball in there because that's what he does. And so they're going to get their points. And this is a game that it could be, if the NC State defense shows up, they could maybe keep it close, maybe create some turnovers, that it could create opportunities that Sam Hartman could have another 4-touchdown game in a game like this. So it's one of those games that could help him in getting to that record faster. Now, Penn State rolled West Virginia. And as you could tell from my computer model that I created to estimate where teams are going to finish at the end of the year, the computer model is huge on Penn State. It loves Penn State, and it's really has them projected high within its rankings. Now, my personal rankings, I do not have Penn State in the top 10 right now, just because I personally have other teams up there where I think by the time things shape out throughout the year, that's where they're going to fall. So far, my personal rankings, I feel like we did a pretty good job with them, considering none of our teams got upset in the top 10 because, most importantly, most of the teams I have up there are teams that I think that schedule-wise and, who they play is important. And, by the way they play, that they're going to be up there at the end of the year. That's where they're going to finish. And then UNC dominating South Carolina. That was probably, to me, the biggest shocker of the week 1 games. I expected North Carolina to come out and be competitive and win. That was something I was already going for. I was all in on Drake May winning that game for North Carolina. I did not think that UNC would throttle South Carolina the way they did and rack up the sacks the way they did. This was a defense that statistically was dead last in the country in almost every defensive stat. I'm not talking one. I'm talking pick one. They were bad at it all. They were just a bad defense. I mean, Drake May was constantly having to try and bail them out of games because they weren't stopping anyone. And here it is, a year later. Everybody was talking about North Carolina. There's a lot of talk about, fire Chisney, get him out of here. He's not doing the job. And then he came out with a game plan against South Carolina that now everybody's like, that's why we brought in Chisnick. And it's like, it's funny to watch people flip-flop like that. I love watching the flip-flops in college football. But a lot of those North Carolina fans that were not happy last year were really impressed and really did like the first game of the season. Now, with that being said, I also say slow down. Because the reason why I did not predict South Carolina doing well in the SEC this year in my prediction, while other people have predicted them to do really well, is because I think South Carolina might be a little overrated going in this year because a lot of people are downplaying the amount of talent they lost in the portal. They lost a lot of guys in the portal. And that was something that was kind of brushed over and not talked about by a lot of people when they're breaking down teams and conferences. And to me, I think that's a huge factor. It's going to affect South Carolina this year. And Spencer Rattler's a great quarterback, and he has that potential to come out and have big games, but it's going to be a little tougher for him this year. I think that there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. It's going to be a typical South Carolina kind of year. South Carolina fans are kind of used to this. I mean, they're like the Virginia Tech of the SEC, basically. And Clemson versus Duke. Now, that game, prime time, Monday night, what can you say about predicting a game? All off season, I have been saying, social media, talking to people, even in videos, I've been saying in breakdowns, Duke was going to beat Clemson to start the season. And thank you, Mike Elko, for proving me right and going out there and showing why you were Coach of the Year in the ACC last year. That's a tough place to go play to start the year. And yes, I understand. Clemson did implode in the end, and they did. But that's also the pressure. You can't take away from what Duke did. Duke defensively frustrated Clemson all night. Klubnik was not happy. He was constantly under pressure. He always had guys in his face. He was throwing bad passes and getting picked off. He was not settled. He was not happy. He was not comfortable. And you have to give credit to Duke for that. Duke is not a defense, you're right, that's going to go out and shut out somebody like Clemson. Although, that being said, if it wasn't for a muff punt, we might have been talking about a Clemson implosion that basically caused them to get shut out by Duke. And Duke's a good defensive team. They create turnovers. They make you make mistakes. But at the same time, they're not a defense that's going to shut you out. That's just how poorly Clemson played. But you can't put it all on Klubnik. You can't put it all on your coordinator because now you have a brand new offensive coordinator that you bragged about all offseason about how great he was going to be, Clemson fans. And we know who you are. There's many of you out there on social media. Some of you might actually click and watch this video. And if you do, this message is definitely for you. That you've told us all offseason how that new offensive coordinator is going to light it up. And you were going to put up the points that Florida State put up. But it didn't happen. Why? Because those weren't all the problems at Clemson. The biggest problems at Clemson was you didn't have a true number one receiver. I mean, I look at that roster, I still don't see a number one guy that you can really throw the ball to and count on every play. And that's the problem. There's not consistency in that receiving core for Clemson. And there's been a lot of drop passes. That's another thing that's really affected that consistency is because as soon as you think you have a guy and he's the stun, he's the guy that you should be trying to get the ball to, all of a sudden he drops 2 or 3 passes. And that's the frustration of what Clemson's been going through. And then you see, teams just basically loading the box, shutting down your run game because they know that's the biggest thing you have coming at them. And this year you don't have DJ. You don't have that extra force in the box to run the ball. Kate Klubnik's not a bad runner, but you don't have DJ's size. And so that's going to make a major difference. So they're going to have to throw the ball effectively. Receivers are going to have to step up for Clemson. But let's just take a moment. I want to do a sidebar here. Sidebar to you, Dabo Sweeney. Dabo, you are going to have to open up to the portal. And just like these fans that say that the portal's bad, and you can't make a team better with the portal, and you can't take on all these portal players, you got to recruit. Okay, Nick Saban noticed this year that even he needed to change his game. And when Nick Saban, the GOAT, is a GOAT for a reason, when there's something in the game of football that changes, Nick Saban makes that change. And when he hit the portal this year and hit it harder than he's hit in the last couple of years, it showed that he's ready to make that change. He may not like the portal, but he's going to use it to make his team better if that's what it's going to be able to do. That's something you have to do, Dabo. You have to swallow your pride and do what's best for your team. Sometimes it's bringing a guy in the portal. I'm not saying bring in all new wide receivers. Maybe just bring in one. Could you imagine if you didn't let FSU get Keon Coleman? If you would have went and got Keon Coleman. Imagine how much fun that would have been to watch Florida State and Clemson play each other with 2 of the best transfer portal receivers we've seen the last couple of years going head to head. These are the kind of things that you have to open your mind to. Otherwise, you might not have a job by the end of the year. So, side note aside, let's get back on track and finish up talking about last week's games. Because week 1 game, the biggest matchup was Sunday night in Orlando. And yes, I was there. And it was great. The stadium was rocking. I'd have to say it was probably about 80% FSU and about 20% LSU in the crowd. I mean, FSU loaded that stadium. And we knew they would. I mean, FSU did it when they was in Louisiana. I had no doubt that FSU was going to do it even better, being that it was in their backyard in Orlando. And, man, it was a great game. The energy and everything from the game was just a great moment, great experience. And I'm telling you, the turning point for that game, when Florida State's receivers stopped dropping passes, they stopped making mistakes. They stopped missing the big plays off little plays. That was the difference because that's all FSU has to do. With the talent they have on this team this year and this roster, what FSU did to LSU is no fluke. This isn't a fluke. If for people who are trying to say LSU maybe was overrated, they're just not that good. Oh, they're good. LSU could probably go on and win the SEC this year. It's a good, strong possibility they could still do that. Offensively, LSU is going to be a tough team to handle. Question is, though, can that LSU defense on the back end be able to hold up long enough for that front end to create the pressure to protect them? That's going to be the real question marks. But offensively, LSU's going to put up points on some people. Now, don't doubt what happened in this game. And the fact that FSU engine, once they got rolling, LSU players just kind of looked shocked. They looked stuck in mud at that point. Like they just did not think that that could happen to them. I mean, after all, Brian Kelly even said in an interview before the game that they were going to go out there and they were going to rock Florida State. So you expect your players to be prepared and ready, and I feel like LSU was. The problem is Florida State starts hitting these little passes and these little plays, but they turn into big plays, big chunk plays, big yardage. FSU led the country last year in 20-plus yard plays. So is it any surprise that we saw a lot of plays in that game where FSU dumped off what should have been just a short route, and somebody on the defense come in and just make the tackle? But there you go. Jaheim Bell makes one guy miss. Boom, gone to the house. Keon Coleman makes one man miss. Boom, gone to the house. They have amazing speed, amazing power. I mean, at one point I watched Johnny Wilson catch a pass, and it probably should not have been a first down. And then he ran over two defenders and then pulled two others and turned it into an almost 20-plus yard play. I mean, that is impressive. That's pure strength that he has. And that's the talent FSU has throughout this core. We're talking about Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, Jaheim Bell. Murlock played pretty good when he was in the game a couple times. I saw some key catches from him. I mean, really, this is a talented Florida State team from top to bottom offensively. And the question mark is going to be who else on the defense is going to step up in the secondary, because Fentrell Cypress played a great game, and they almost never targeted him. Shaheem Brown played great. I think he was only targeted once the whole game. So, I mean, there were some great players in the secondary, but then there was other guys that didn't do their job. They didn't stay with their man and left with some open receivers for LSU and some scores. So, FSU's going to have to shore those things up, especially going against Clemson. Right now, I still like my pick for them to win that game. So we'll see as time gets closer who we like still in that game. But right now, I'm telling you, Florida State looking great. And I'm not just saying that just because I'm a fan. Man, if you're a fan of college football and you watch that team, you have to admit, from top to bottom, even if you hate Florida State, that is a talented roster. And it's going to be fun to watch this year. And now we're going to talk about some key matchups that are coming up here in week 2. These are some of the games you should be watching today because they are going to be, of course, the big one, Alabama, Texas. I mean, that's a big game, and yes, that's definitely a game that you're going to want to watch today. I mean, Texas had Alabama on the ropes last year. If Ewers didn't get hurt, there's a pretty good chance that, Ewers doesn't get hurt, but they have a really good chance at winning that game. I really feel like it's a different outcome with him healthy. So if he stays healthy this year, it's going to be an interesting game to watch and see if Texas can pull it off this year. And it's going to be a lot harder for them, but in this situation, I'm still kind of favoring Alabama to win this game. I still think Bama is going to be the one that pulls it out in the end, but I think Texas could make it close and make it a very entertaining game, and it's going to be a fun one to watch. But that being said, let's talk about some of these other matchups as well. Everybody knows Texas, Alabama, how big that's going to be. But let's look at another one that's going to be huge. Is Notre Dame and NC State. Now, a lot of things are going to be said about this. A lot of people predicting NC State to upset Notre Dame. I think the reason why you should watch this game is because you will see who Sam Hartman is. If you still do not understand who Sam Hartman is and what he did in the ACC, and you think it's just because of the mesh, and you don't think that Notre Dame has the wide receivers, or whatever excuses you want to give, go watch this game, because Sam Hartman is going to have a huge game against NC State, a team that I think defensively is still trying to figure some things out. They're still trying to piece together that defense and rebuild after losing some very strong and key pieces from it from the year before. So, watch Notre Dame. I think they're going to come out big. They're going to try and hit them with that play action early. And Sam Hartman just has that uncanny ability to find receivers and make them open, even when they're not. He'll put that ball in position where they can use their size and be able to go out and get the ball. And another good game to watch is going to be Ole Miss and Tulane. I really want interested to see how well Tulane does. Yes, I understand. Ole Miss is probably going to run away with this. It's an interesting spread, very low spread for this game. But I still think Ole Miss needs to watch out. This is one of those trap games where Tulane is a better team than people want to give them credit for. And to them, this is going to be their bowl game. Tulane's going to put everything they have at Ole Miss because to them, this is like a bowl game. This is a huge statement if you can make this upset win. At the same time, though, for Ole Miss, this is a huge statement for them to show that they're not overlooking this year. That they're going to be able to play and win the games they're supposed to win, which will help them when they get into the games that are going to be a little closer and a little tougher later on in the season. So I look for Ole Miss to win this game, pull away late. But early on, might see some fireworks. I might see Tulane even with a lead early. But don't expect it to last too long because Ole Miss could put up some points in a hurry. And another key game to watch out for, a lot of people are not talking about it, and a lot of people aren't talking about the week one performance, but Cincinnati. And that's a team that I liked when it comes from the Big 12. That was my sleeper team that I think in the Big 12 that if there's one team that a lot of people don't talk about who could come out of that conference and play Texas in the title game, it could be Cincinnati. Why? Because they brought in 5 transfer portal guys at wide receiver. And a couple of these guys are starting, and they are impact players. They're go-to guys. And these guys are going to make a difference for Cincinnati. But on top of that, Emory Jones. Emory Jones is playing great. And it's not the first time we have seen a quarterback leave the Florida Gators and play better somewhere else. So it's no surprise. He's found a home in Cincinnati. I mean, he's found weapons, and he's going to spread the ball around. So it'll be an interesting game to watch as Cincinnati has to play a Pitt team who's going to come after Emory Jones. I mean, he is going to get blitzed all game long. So now we get to see how is he going to be able to stamp up and be able to play above that, play above the pressure, because everybody knows Pitt's going to bring the pressure no matter what. They don't care. They'll leave the corners out there on an island, and they are going to come after you, and they're going to force you to try and get rid of that ball fast. And then another interesting game I would want to watch is going to be Central Florida and Boise State. Now, why would you want to watch this one? Simple. Because people need to realize that what Washington did to Boise State was not a fluke. Boise State could come into this game and actually beat UCF. Now, UCF looked really good their first game. And yes, I understand that running attack is very dangerous. But this is the kind of game that Boise State can settle into. They can come back, keep it close with UCF, and as long as it's a close game that's coming down to the wire, be really interested to see who can pull it out at the end. I'm not saying Central Florida is going to lose this game. I'm just saying watch it. It's going to be interesting. Give Boise State a chance that they could pull the upset here and get back on the right track. And then that Washington win looks a lot better because there's no knock on UCF if that happens. That's definitely props to Boise State after suffering the beating they did from Washington. And so, I mean, those are the games that there's not a lot on the slate for week 2. But those are some of the hidden gems besides Texas, Alabama, or maybe, watching your team play. Those would be some of the hidden gems you want to watch because those are some matchups that could have key implications within the conferences later on in the year. Here we go. And the last thing we're going to talk about on today's show is receipts. We all have them. We've all kept them. No, I'm not talking about when you go to the store. I'm talking about how you've had to listen to all off season about how your team was going to lose so bad to LSU or to someone else. It could have been anybody. But then, your team goes out and just destroys the team that was supposed to destroy them. So Those are the great things about college football is we get to hang on to these things and we get to rub it in the face of someone else who tried to hold it against us when it hadn't even happened yet. And that's the great thing about Twitter and social media, the ability to be able to do that to others and with others. It's all in fun. I mean, at some point, someone's going to have some receipts on you and some things you said, and they're going to want to cash on you. I'm sure there's going to be some people that are going to be at the end of the year want to pull some receipts on me. But at the same time, you better be ready because I will pull them right back. We have a lot that is going for well. Yeah, we're only in week 1, but things are going great right now within the coverage. And I really like our predictions and where some of these teams are going to finish at the end of the year. So if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. At the end of the day, though, it's about how we handle it. I mean, there's one thing to go ahead and cash receipts on people. It's another to sit there and constantly try and come up with excuses or reasonings or some other way to try and troll over the top of the receipt of something you said. If you said it, admit it. Admit it and move on. Yes, we also said some things that maybe, people just don't quite agree with. People don't think that logically makes sense. And I understand it. I mean, I've made some predictions myself, a little far-fetched sometimes, but hey, I've done some of those and they came true. So at the same time, stick to your guns. What works for you? And it doesn't mean you're going to be right. No one's ever right 100% of the time. And receipts aren't just social media. People think it's the social media, but for the longest, we've been doing this before social media existed. How many times do you have a friend who their team was going to be playing your team, and all off season you heard about what their team was going to do to yours and how much better they were and everything they could possibly say about your team negative they said. And then you get to call them or text them after the game and say, so what were you saying again? How about that game? What was the score? And those are great moments. And it's fun to do that. But at the end of the day, it's all in fun. We should remember that it's in fun. You're not trying to, completely blast somebody or call them idiots or try to say, well, you picked this, so you're stupid, you're dumb. That's not the way we should be approaching college football. I mean, yes, you do point out their mistake. And in college football, usually we do it in a joking way is the best way to do it as fans. It's the best interaction we could have with each other. And remember, at the end of the day, that's all we're trying to build is interactions. So we can sit here and we can talk to each other about the games and about the sports that we love. Yes, it is the end of episode 2. But don't be sad as you exit the portal. We look to jump in again next week and continue to discuss topics every week of college football. And if I can get over this cold anytime soon, that would be great. And then we'll really start having more discussions and more content beyond the show. So for those of you that are listening on Apple or other devices, please join us on YouTube and check out some of the other content we're going to be putting out from time to time. We're going to start doing some matchup content. We're going to also put out some quick, clip videos maybe of different matchups and who I think will win and why. And this could go with some of the picks that I post on Twitter and other social media sites. But if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to ring that notification bell and to subscribe because we definitely want you to come back and build the conversation, not just with me, but with the others who watch the show. That's all I'm really doing this for is I want us to build a community and just talk about sports together, just like a bunch of guys at the cooler and have some fun. If you want to join me on social media, you can. Just follow me on Twitter at sjollyacc, and that's on the screen as well. Or you can also look at some of my Instagram photos, especially for some of the ones I did from the game. I also got some more content I'm about to post out from the FSU-LSU game on Instagram. And that's at Stephen Jolly ACC for my Instagram. And if you have any questions or you want to comment on anything you've seen on the show, then make sure you just leave it in the comments Go on social media, email me, whatever you want to do, because I love the conversations. I will keep it going. I will talk with you. I'll discuss it with you. I'm the kind of person that, remember, if you're just going to come at me, I'm going to go ahead and just, kill you with kindness and facts. And until you want to actually speak facts and talk head to head with me. Because that's the way it's going to be at the portal. So don't forget, once again, subscribe and come on back, hit that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode loads. And I will see you on the other side of the portal.